Hello YouTube and hello 9th Age community. This is Charles with Evershade Gaming, and I'm bringing you another 9th Age battle report. Got a friendly game in against one of my regular boys, Dino. And this time he's not playing his Beast Turds, but he's playing a little Saurian Ancients. A couple of the dudes in my kind of local game community are getting ready for Strength in Numbers. Unfortunately, I can't make it to that tournament this year, but happy to get test games in for them. So he's rocking a Shield Saurian Ancient list. He's got a Control Lord, Ancient Knowledge, with both General and BSB, Breaker spells, and Divination, and 2 Binding Scrolls. 2 Binding Scrolls. That's his only character, and then he's got a big thing of the Skink Braves, 31 Skink Braves with 3 Caimans in it. A couple little small units of Skinks that are scoring, and a big block of Temple Guard. Also, who could forget those Raptor Riders? And then in the back half of his list, he's got some Chameleons, 3 Things of Weapon Beasts, 2 Spearbacks, 2 Salamanders. That's probably the best way to run them. And then 2 Taurosaurs, one with a giant bow and one with an engine of the Ancients. I don't know how you can go anywhere without an engine. It's just that good. And then in my Empire Sonnstahl list, I'm rocking 2 Artificers with long rifles, a Martial BSB, he's got a pistol, a shield, a black steel, and he's got a Potion of Strength. I haven't played with one of those in a while. And then I've also got a Army General, he's another Martial, who's an Imperial Prince on a Dragon, that's right. He's rocking a Lucky Charm and the Potion of Swiftness. Then I have 2 Wizards, who are both Wizard Adepts, and one has Pyromancy and one has Divination. So, very different character setup. Really haven't played with characters like this before. And then I also have a big unit of, starting off my core, I have a big unit of heavy infantry, or a decent size, 42 is pretty big, with spears, and they have full command. Then I have 2 things of light infantry. The back half of my list looks like, this looks so bad from Battlescribe. I should have fixed this more. But 2 things of light infantry, one with handguns, one with crossbows. They both have long rifle champions. The handgunners have the Marksman Pennant. Then I have 2 things of 4 Knights of the Sun Griffon. They have lances instead of halberds. 2 riders with brace of pistols, and 2 volley guns. So really it's 2 light infantry, 2 things of 4 Knights of the Sun Griffon, 2 riders, and 2 volley guns. This army list basically mirrors itself, except for the single unit spearmen and the dragon. They're kind of like unique. Everything else is like mirrors of each other. 2 wizards, 2 artificers, you know. So, Saurian Ancient deployment. Pretty tight. He's got 1 unit of Raptor Riders on his left, and then in his backfield, we rolled up, just kind of rolled up Scenario and Objective, and we got Meeting Engagement for diagonal deployment, and then we got Capture the Flags for our objectives. So he's got his 2 scoring units kind of just protected in the back. I mean, they don't really need to do much in this game except survive. He's got one of his Salamanders up front in front of his unit of Skinks and Caimans. He's got his Taurosaur with the engine right in the middle of it all. He's got his 2 Spearbacks kind of right in front of that forest, and then his Temple Guard, other unit Taurosaur, and other Salamander to the right of all that. My deployment, I have a unit of Riders on my right flank, and then 4 Knights of the Sun Griffon, and then that sun is kind of like making this picture not look perfect, looking very good. But I have one of my units of light infantry with handguns next to that impassable terrain, those oil pits, and a volley gun. It's a rocket battery, forgive me, I don't have 2 volley guns, and my Artificer is right next to that. The big unit of Spearmen is right in the middle, and I have my Divination Wizard in there. The spells he has this game are the Stars Align, and he took Altered Sight from Cosmology with his, I want to say Magical Heirloom, but I know that's not right. It's just the army spell. I can't think what it's called right now. Then I have another unit of light infantry next to the Spearmen with another volley gun, and then I got my Pyro Wizard in there and another Artificer. My Dragon, another unit of 4 Knights of Sun Griffon, and another 5 Riders finishing out my left flank. And I have a Griffon character as the Dragon. I don't have a Dragon model either. So proxying a couple proxies. He drops his Chameleons in the runes. They are able to be 12 inches away. And then I kind of just vanguard back. I figure if he wants to move forward and shoot them, At least he'll be hitting on, I think, just 6s, so just be poisons at least, or maybe 5s. And then I Vanguard over this way. His Raptor Riders have quite a long charge there. I believe it was boxcars. He moves his weapon beasts into the forest if possible. I made sure both the salamanders are out of 20 inches, so they're just kind of giving in range to possibly do some flamethrowing next turn. And then he moves his spearbacks within range to shoot at one of my Knights of Sun Griffon. He gets scrying up on his Temple Guard. He can get like a lot of spells off. Sometimes you gotta let him go. But I am able to stop his missiles. And then he kills one of my Knights of Sun Griffon with a giant bow. Just hit, wound, 3 wounds right off the bat. So that's frustrating. In the shooting phase, he did kill some of my riders, but I was able to then charge the next turn. I didn't take any wounds going in, so I think 2 guys going in could do quite a bit of damage to those chameleons, and I really need to do like a couple wounds to really make them panic or something, make them break. I don't really move up that much. I don't really move at all, except with my Knights of Sun Griffon. They just kind of close in a little bit to zone. That's a good picture. You can see where he really didn't move up that much either, just to kind of try and get in range with some spells. And then I move my riders so they can shoot at the Raptor Riders, but that they can't be seen. They're shooting at long range, but that's okay. I get the Stars Align off on my left volley gun, which is just so good on a volley gun, especially when you're hitting on a 3-up. And then we start shooting. I shoot that volley gun with the stars aligned at his weapon beasts, the spearbacks right there in the middle, and I kill the whole unit, which is awesome. Don't have to really worry about that later. He passes all his panic tech. He actually, he almost failed. He had the guiding light up on his skinks, and he had to re-roll it. It was insane to pass it. He rolled like, it's like 4 5s and 6s. It's crazy. And then I do 3 wounds with the riders over here, which is great. They pass their panic test. And then I'm able to kill the salamander in the forest between either the other volley gun and my handgunners. And then I think I put, with the crossbows, they put 1 wound on the last salamander. So pretty good shooting phase. 2 of the weapon beasts are down. 1's got a wound on it. In close combat, lose a rider, but the other rider breaks the chameleon skink. So that was great just to kind of see them gone. Makes my right flank a little bit more friendly for me. At the start of Saurian Ancient turn 2, he moves to one of his salamanders in the forest to give it some cover. He's not being too aggressive with his Cayman Skink unit because I do have both the dragon and a whole full unit of Knights of Sun Griffon on side, so he's being a little wary. He does turn his Temple Guard to face my other Knights of Sun Griffon, the smaller unit. He's able to get scrying off on his Temple Guard again, which was a little frustrating because this turn I would have liked to have shot the Temple Guard. They were like not in cover or anything. And then he also gets Portent of Doom off on my big block. He was worried about me trying to charge his flank. I think it was like a 14-inch charge, so it was like a 10, maybe a 9 with the movement buff. But now with -2 movement, it's going to be really hard. So start of my turn, I don't really do that much movement. I just move my riders on my left flank to kind of wheel around. He killed my last rider on my right flank with, I believe, the small version of the Divination spell that does the 2d6 hits and wounds on a 4-up. And then I obviously don't really... And I don't think I tried charging this turn. I'm just trying to get my Knights of Sun Griffon in position to possibly make long charges against the Cayman unit. I think he uses his one of his binding scrolls to tie up my altered sight this turn. I am able to get flaming swords off on one of my volley guns. I shoot my riders first at his one raptor, or his 2 raptor riders. I kill one. This one passes its break test, and then it all falls apart. This volley gun rolls double 6s, and then it rolls a 1, so no more shooting from this volley gun, which is just so sad. And then my other volley gun also rolls double 6s, and I actually shot both my light infantry at that one salamander in the forest couldn't put any more wounds on it between, you know, it's like the armor save it has and the ward save, the Aegis save it has from the engine, and just not rolling that great. And then I was going to use this one to kill that Raptor Knight, and I couldn't kill him because I rolled double sixes, took a wound, and then on his turn, he makes like a, I think he needed a 10 on the dice, like a 17-inch charge into me, and that is unfortunate. He tries to make like a 13-inch charge over here, so he needed a 9 on the dice, and he fails it. He goes like a few inches forward. And then he puts the Salamander to chaff me, and also to obviously do some damage this turn. I believe that is after its shooting attack. Did like 7 or 8 wounds, which isn't terrible, honestly. At the start of Empire Sonnstahl, turn 3. This is the turn I decide, you know what? Alright, let me see if I can charge those Caimans with the Skinks, and I failed with both my Dragon and my Knights. The Knights needed like a 17, and I think the Dragon needed a 16. He had a reroll, and he failed it, unfortunately. So, and I moved, and they both fail like with 6s. I rolled like 6s and 1s, you know, so they went as far forward as possible. And then, as you can see in the bottom of that last picture, the Raptor Rider had no problem beating my volley gun. In the shooting phase, I shoot my riders at this unit of Skinks, and I did like 7 wounds. It was fantastic rolling, and they fail a panic test. They start running, which is good for me. See if they can fall off the board. And then in the magic phase, a little out of order, I did get flaming swords off on my light infantry, and I believe this turn they picked on maybe the Temple Guard and did some wounds there. And then in the close combat phase, I lose, I think I just lose like 1 or 2 light infantry, and then I reform. Saurian Nation's turn 4. Both the Taurosaurs declared charges on the heavy infantry. Thankfully, and then I'm able to stand and shoot against the one on the right there, and I do 3 wounds to it between with my handgunners, which was awesome. These guys have brace for impact up, so at least I get a decent amount of attacks. And then he makes it in with just the Taurosaur that took damage, so yeah, there's some positive. There's something positive there, possibly. Then you can also see the Taurosaur at the engine, the one that failed. It did charge my Knights of Sun Griffon, who fled, and then he redirected the heavy infantry, and then he failed that charge. He gets Know Thy Enemy off on the Taurosaur, which is, you know, not great. It's always going to hit a little bit better and wound a little bit, or hit a little bit better with everything now. And then this is post combat, so I stay. I don't do anything to the Raptor Rider, and we stick around in combat. And with the Taurosaur, we do 2 more wounds to it, and then obviously kills a bunch of heavy infantry, and then we reform to be deep. And this is what the start of US turn 4 looked like. So I turned my Knights of Sun Griffon on the right the previous turn just to start moving away, because I mean, they couldn't take the whole Temple Guard unit on their own. And then I tried charging my Dragon at the Taurosaur. First he declared a charge against the Skink unit, which fled, and then he failed like I think it was like a 16 or 17 charge again, so it was like, I think it was like a 9 on the dice, maybe a 10. I failed it. It's like long charges that I'm failing at the very least, so I can't really complain that much. I mean, I'm complaining, but again, I'm not complaining that much. And then, thankfully, my Knights of Stone Griffin did rally on the left flank, so that's good. And I believe my Riders are fighting the Skinks up top. I think they charged me the last turn, or something. Or I'm trying to shoot them again. Push them up. They rallied the previous turn. Really start trying to pick on this Temple Guard unit, because I got a couple more turns, and they're not facing me, so I might be able to do some damage there. Again, can't really do anything in this combat. Can't put a wound on him. He does like some more damage to me. And then in this combat, there's just that 1 wound on the Taurosaur. This is actually like just a zoomed in picture from one of my last pictures. I forgot to take a picture of the Taurosaur dying. I was able to put 1 more wound on the Taurosaur, which was great, because on his turn 5, the other Taurosaur comes in, and I feel like handling 1 at a time is doable. Handling more than that is too hard. My long rifles did put 2 wounds on this bad boy too, which was amazing. They both hit and wounded and did 2 wounds. And then in combat, I finally used my strength potion, and a roll of 1 to wound. So, I thought that could have been like a nice little piece there to try and stop that guy, but So, Emperor Sonnstahl turn 5. Didn't really have that much movement. Just moved my dragon up to try and charge those skinks the last turn. In the magic phase, I get Quicksilver Lash on those Temple Guard, and I do 2 wounds. Put the attribute on the Taurosaur, and then I get Flaming Swords off. I roll like 4 dice, I get 4 6s, and my wizard doesn't kill himself. So that was pretty dope. Flaming Swords are, yep, there's those 2 wounds on my wizard. And this is also a picture showing that, hey, I finally killed that Raptor Rider. Got them out of combat. That's pretty dope. However, in my turn 5, the heavy infantry can't kill the Taurosaur, and they break. I had like a rerollable 8, but they just broke from combat. And then on his turn, he charges his Temple Guard at my light infantry, who stand and shoot and do a little bit of damage. He charges the Taurosaur at the heavy infantry to push them off the board, and then, because he decided not to pursue on my turn 5, and then he passes his redirect, which was, I mean, it's cold-blooded, so it's a pretty good chance to pass it. Definitely kind of like going for, you know, trying to push himself to get the objective as much as possible here. And he charges my light infantry, which I should have fled. Now I'm thinking about it. You'll probably see why later, but I should have fled, because I'm going to lose that unit anyway. Thankfully, these guys fail, which was so good, because I had like a really poor stand and shoot. I think I only did like 1 or 2 wounds, which is really bad when like you're hitting on 4s, wounding on 4s. They do have a 5 up armor set, I guess, so maybe that's about right. I don't know. And then this is what the board is looking like at turn 6. So you can see I have my Knights of Sun Griffon there on the left. And if I just let the Taurosaur fail its charge, I would have been able to charge it with the Knights of Sun Griffon. I guess I don't think it can flee because it's fearless. So yeah, I would have been able to charge it, possibly kill it. Well, I'll probably kill it because it only has 3 wounds left. I think between the static combat res and just like some bunch of strength 6, strength 5 attacks, been able to beat it. Yeah. So this is what it's looking like. I have one of his scoring units from the skinks. My riders beat some skinks down earlier. He gets off some divination spells in this combat with the light infantry. I was like, I don't care. Just gonna stop your magic missiles. Gets guiding light up in both his. I just realized I'm just gonna realize something. I forgot to do something later in this game. But he gets guiding light up on both his remaining units right there. And then he charged here. I beat him in combat, but I believe he stuck around. Yeah, I did like a stand and shoot, and then I just beat him in combat. He just didn't roll poor with him. Yeah, and this is the Taurosaur beating the light infantry, and now he's like running off the board. So that was what I should have just let the light infantry go off the board. They were going to die anyway to impact hits and stomp. And then it's not like I can stop that thing from doing all that damage. But I guess that's why we play, to learn from our mistakes. Yeah, it would have been really nice to put the Knights of Sun Griffon into this bad boy. That engine does just so much for the army. And then on my last turn, my dragon finally makes a charge into the Skinks of the Caimans, and I'm like really excited to tear them up with my furious Dargon. And then this is what the board looks like at the turn 6. So we've got my light infantry is alive, both my Knights of Sun Griffon are alive, and then riders are fighting skinks, and my dragons and the Cayman. At this point, I believe we're tied on the objective, because he got my heavy infantry and my light infantry. And I got his Raptor Riders and his one of his units of skinks. And then my handgunners just turn up and kill 6 Temple Guard. And then this isn't even 3 ranks of shooting. This is just the 2 front files. So I'm missing like 7, like the back 7 shots. Super good wound roll is what it was. I wounded with like I think I hit 8 times, and I wounded with all my hits. And then he failed 6 armor saves for me. So good. But I forgot to make the Cthulhu Lord take a break test with his guiding light break test, which was a little bit sad. He probably would have passed, but that would be amazing to see a Cthulhu Lord fail a break test with guiding light and his own reroll. The bravest little skink comes forward and gets eaten by the dragon, which is a little bit disappointing. Didn't really get to unleash the full fury of the dragon. And this is where our game ends. He passes his break test with that unit up there. They needed like a 4, I guess, and he made it with that delicious, delicious cold-blooded leadership. And I believe the riders just kind of grinded against the skinks, and neither of them, I think I might have lost combat that time, or tied, or something like that. I had one good round of combat against them. But yeah, that's what it is. Cthulhu Lord's alive, Taurus Lord's alive, big unit of skinks is alive, small unit of skinks is alive. And yeah, this is an EOS victory. 13-7, 10-10 before the objective win. This was a really, probably the most stressful game I played in a long, long time. And it was only it wasn't even stressful until turn 2, when all my shooting just decided to stop working, and my 2 volley guns misfired, and basically one knocked itself out of the game to just move 4 inches to the back corner, and the other one failed, and then it got charged. It was just the perfect storm of bad shooting to really... Honestly, I was about to call the game, but then I was like, let's just keep playing it out. And wow, just some other things really ended up turning up for me later in that game. And yeah, I mean, I really didn't even use my Knights of Sun Griffon or my my Dragon. It was just my heavy infantry just were able to somehow, between use with the light infantry, doing a bunch of wounds with the standard shoots, just able to kill his Taurosaurs, or a couple, or one of them, and then the other one got some points. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this battle report. Please comment, please like and subscribe. Smash that bell button, baby! And you'll be getting another 9th Age battle report very soon.